Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. We're live this evening. It's a really chilly evening. Where this is March the 4th, 2015, and it's chilly. We're waiting for spring, and we hope any time now it will be coming. Also, I think we need to remind you that daylight savings time starts Sunday. I believe it's Sunday. Spring ahead and fall behind is when it's fall time. But spring ahead, which means you need to put your clocks 1 hour ahead. So that's for your information. That starts, I believe, Sunday night or Sunday day, whatever. But I'm giving you a heads up on it, whatever. But it's spring ahead, so 1 hour. We get more sunshine. I guess we should have more warmth. That would be good too. But this evening, I would like to introduce to you my guest, who I've been trying for such a long time, I can't tell you. Richard Bradshaw from Bradshaw-Range Funeral Directors and Funeral Home in Waukegan. And he is, Bradshaw-Range is one of the oldest funeral homes in Lake County, in Waukegan. And we're going to have a bit of history this evening and information. And we've waited so long. I'm so tired out waiting for him, but this is going to be a very energetic program. And so, with your permission, let me introduce to you Richard Bradshaw. Richard Bradshaw.
Thank you, Bev.
When your hands are cold, but they'll be warm.
Well, it's cold outside.
From Bradshaw-Range. So, we have been trying to get you.
Yes.
I know, my
yes,
goodness sakes,
yes.
for a long time. And you kept saying, yes, you will, and then, nope, I can't, I'm going out of town, I can't do it, I'm going to do it, and then Waddell said, you got to get him on the program. So here you are.
Thank you for your persistence.
Well, absolutely. I'd never let go of a good thing, absolutely not. So, Bradshaw-Range, and you're located in Waukegan.
Yes.
And at that location, how long have you been there?
Since 1963.
Oh, 50 years, 51 years.
Yes, that was our first new building that they had constructed. Prior to that, we started in Waukegan in 1938 in a brownstone on Sheridan Road. And I recall that as a young boy visiting from California, crossing the snow-covered streets. And
Snow.
Yes.
As we have now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I always wanted to come back because in California we didn't have snow.
No.
Not in at Christmas.
I'll pack you up some.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how many people were in the organization at that time? Just two?
Well,
or?
it was started primarily as a family-owned business, and back, like any family-owned business, you try to get your wife and your brothers
Involved,
and sisters and grandchildren involved as much as they care to, depending on the nature of the business. Funeral service offers a unique challenge, and so sometimes it's a bit of teeth-pulling to get people to subscribe to participating in the routine just by the very nature of the business.
Sure.
But then a lot of times it has to do with personality and such, and everybody sort of gets the idea when you're running a family business, despite the nature of the business, that there's a need to be successful. So
Oh, sure.
they were able to transition some of the family members who were my seniors at that time into helping out and working. And
Well, someone has to answer the phone.
yes.
And someone has to meet with the families.
Yes.
And someone needs to be able to take care of flowers or whatever, music or whatever is necessary in the business.
Yes.
Make sure everybody has got a place to sit and where they're going to be.
Yes.
Did you have that all covered?
Yes, they did at that time, yes.
Really?
Yes, they had all
Good
that
for
covered.
them.
Although technology has really changed things today in every field. So nowadays, not as many people may be needed as it was in the past due to the advances in technology and such.
Well, this is a hands-on, no pun intended, but a hands-on organization that you're dealing with human beings, you're dealing with emotions,
Yes.
and so something you can't really deal with a recording voice or whatever.
No.
They want to communicate.
Yes,
to.
it's things that have not changed is when someone calls, they expect to hear a live person. They don't want to hear,
Hope so.
we're out, press number
Yeah.
1, press number 2.
Yeah.
So that hasn't changed. That's been the one consistent fact that when somebody calls, you will hear a live voice on the other end. And that's important, that personal touch.
Sure.
And it's a difficult time. And it's very important to be as courteous and as compassionate as you can under the circumstances, because many different circumstances and situations present themselves that you have to be prepared for. And sometimes things catch you a little off guard, and you still have to be prepared for those challenges.
I know. What what is the oldest person that you've had that you've provided services for?
There have been individuals who have been 100, 101 or so.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
that's, when they're young, and certainly infants or children, that's heart gripping.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
It's
so
heartbreaking.
hard.
It's heart-rendering,
Yeah.
and it's always a challenge.
I mean, you have to be with the parents. You have to be able to console them. You need to, but you have such a difficult job. Do you realize how difficult your job is?
Yes, and it's very humbling when you think that you're participating in an event of a tribute to a person's very existence on the planet, and everyone
No.
who passes away, life has mattered,
Of course.
regardless of the age, and that's what love does. And when you have that separation, it just becomes quite an emotional experience.
It's devastating.
Yes.
It's devastating.
Yes, and in a short period of time, the family has to pull together their emotions, and we have to be prepared to do what's expected, because we only get one chance to serve in this aspect, and you have to get it right.
The first time.
There are no do-overs.
No. No.
And as long as you meet the reasonable expectations of the families we serve, then it is appreciated, although death is never welcomed.
No, it's really hard to grasp. We rejoice when life is born,
Yes.
and when people say we're going to celebrate someone's life after they pass, you can't celebrate. The loss is so severe. There is no celebration.
No, there is no celebration, but what I've experienced in my 38 years is you do see an aspect of love that remains, and you do see families and individuals who have the fortitude to be somewhat accepting in a short period of time in terms of what they have to deal with, and they manage to get through it. And some, it takes a little longer. It takes more than a week, obviously, but sometimes it takes months. And
Years, maybe.
yeah, oh yes.
You can't forget
no.
that.
And sometimes unresolved grief lingers, and there are grief support agencies and groups now, and compassionate friends and such, to help individuals and families get through such a difficult time in their life experience.
Now, when a family comes into you, do you express this to them and maybe say that there is an agency or there's this one, if you're having a hard time dealing with the loss of the loved one? I mean, do you
Yes,
do that, or do you wait for the minister to do that? Or
Well, we let families know about the different resources that are available for grief counseling and other services that they may need. And it's quite curious sometimes. We find families who want to just manage things at their own pace, and they've expressed many different things, but sometimes families like, we'll bear up and we'll get through it and we'll be okay, and then others need to reach out more, as you've indicated.
is this because they anticipated the passing or not? Because
Well, whether someone passes away suddenly, unexpected, or even if they're in hospice and they're expected that others may outlive them, at the point of separation, sometimes there's very little distinction. Certainly, a sudden, unexpected death is quite tragic and traumatic. But even when you are lingering with someone in a nursing home or hospice, you know that it's going to happen, but it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And sometimes when it does happen, it can still have the same impact as if somebody passing away all of a sudden unexpectedly. So a lot of it depends on the emotional aspect of one's own being and where people find themselves with their relationships with individuals. And their spiritual, because at a time like this, a lot of people rely on their spiritual and religious aspects of their lives to help them through this difficult time.
get them through it. This, of course, is, we can never talk lightly of this subject because this is everlasting. Life is, fleeting, but death is forever. That's it. And I don't know how you can manage to explain to someone to let go when they don't want to let go.
Yes, and sometimes it's just a difficult time, and a lot of times I see a lot of different families and a lot of circumstances, and it's a impossible challenge, it seems sometimes, to pull all of these emotions together within a week to 10 days to have a tribute to someone's life that it's been lived. You've got to try to pull all this together in such a short period of time, which sometimes you have to do something, because of the person who passed away. You have to have a disposition, a burial, a cremation, or a memorial service, and you just can't do nothing and just,
No, I don't think
Sometimes
so.
people would like to just
Just
not
do
face it. I
That's
don't want
right.
to deal with this now.
That's right.
But it's the one aspect of life that you really can't sort of push it away in a corner and say, well, I'll deal with this later. So it's, and a lot of times it's a family event. So families come together and family will support family, and that will enable families to get through it. It's not like you have to be in a corner by yourself trying to deal with this. So, family comes together, the clergy, the friends, the community.
Problematic as it may be, because one part of the family is going to pull one way, and another part of the family is going to pull another way, and they're going to say, excuse me, Aunt, so and so, I know the way she would want to have things
Yes,
done, and the other one say,
yes,
no, we
yes.
want to do it this way.
Yeah, and that has given rise to, since I've been involved in my 38 years in funeral service, the hospice aspect of caring for those who are terminally ill has grown tremendously for care and support and nurturing, as well as the idea of people making prearrangements where they sit down before they pass away, and whether they're healthy or in hospice, they decide that I want to plan my own funeral. I want to determine what is going to happen should others outlive me, so they can avoid to as the best they can those kinds of circumstances, so there's no misunderstanding about what the person who passed away wanted. And that's a loving aspect because it relieves the other family members of as you described, some of the
Yeah.
uncertainty about what someone might have wanted for their final tribute to their life that has been lived.
I don't know how, when someone comes to you, they come mostly by one-on-one? Do they come to the door, or do they call you mostly? Do you go to their home and see them? How arrangements are made? People don't know.
Right.
What is the rule that you basically follow?
Historically, when my grandfather was back in the 30s and 40s, it wasn't unusual at that time for the funeral home director to go to the family's home and sit down with them in their living room and discuss the details and things that they would have wanted to do. And at that time in America, it was also, and as well as Europe, not unusual for the person who passed away to be waked in the home.
In the home.
Mm-hmm. But that's not the case anymore today. And so, but now...
Do people do that? Can people do that?
Yes, people can still do that.
I mean, there's no law.
No, there's no law, but it's just
stipulates that you
a
can't.
tradition and custom that was in early America,
Yeah.
but not so much
Now.
anymore. And that's why they call them funeral homes so much,
Homes.
because a lot of people were waked in their home. But that has sort of gotten away from that completely now. But a lot of times our contact will come by telephone, or somebody will just show up unannounced at the funeral home.
Yeah.
And and then we have to drop what we're doing and be prepared, and that's customary as well, because people have to find themselves in that circumstance and do what they feel a need to do. Sometimes people want to face it immediately, contact immediately, or else they'll want to wait a few days and they'll call us, and if necessary, we will go by the home if someone has passed away and meet with people if necessary because of perhaps a disability or other particular reason. We don't demand that they come to the funeral home, but usually that's the best case because we have all the information and the availability to identify what might be needed at a time like that. Nowadays, a lot of people are making pre-arrangements, and we can still go to the home then and sit down and talk to people in a more comfortable setting, because sometimes people feel intimidated by going to a funeral home, and that's not lost on me.
They're out of their element.
Yes, it's a difficult time, and so we try to do what we can to be accommodating at such a difficult time.
So you take those responsibilities of flowers or music, or what if they don't have a minister? Do you give them a pastor, or is there someone you can communicate with if they didn't have anyone for religious, religious?
Yes, a lot of times what we find, and what I found in my experience, is sometimes you will serve families who have been through a similar circumstance, and they've made arrangements for other family members who've passed away. And then you will have a family who has never had to make funeral arrangements at all, and they've never had to sit down. They may have attended funerals, but they've never had to actually plan an experience for their loved ones.
So they've had to discuss, you've got to...
And so at that time, we don't necessarily try to take advantage of a person of their lack of understanding. We just take it step by step and listen. We try to listen when somebody comes in to sit down to see what their immediate concerns might be. And then we have resources that we can suggest if they might need a clergy or years ago, the local funeral homes did perhaps handle flowers themselves, but now it's the local florist. They're a separate business, so we don't try to personally at our funeral home sell flowers directly and get involved in all of those things. We just try to do a few things well And, you know, America is so specialized in this day and age.
Oh, everybody, everyone, this is true.
So we have resources where we can let people know things that we cannot do, that we could point them in the right direction so they may find what they need.
Now, on your website, it says something about flowers on there.
Oh, yes, those are links and resources that people can just click.
You know, so I didn't, I mean, I thought, I didn't know if you handled that or if they just go to that.
No, they would click a link, and then they would get the florist. And then we do have resources of floral books at the funeral home where they can look through a book and don't have to particularly go to the florist. We can call and make suggestions for them from what we've learned by serving families in the past.
This is a very humanistic profession that you have placed yourself into. I mean, you're not talking to a machine. It's not a computer. You are dealing with one-on-one human element that you need to be able to satisfy and calm and deal with raw emotion for a loss.
To the best that we can, and there are challenges at that time because sometimes the basic approach we try to take to listen and to find out what's important to a family may serve us well in most instances, but sometimes the raw emotion of what families are faced with presents unique and difficult challenges for us as service providers as well, and we just have to have a lot of patience and rely on our experiences, you know, in serving families in the past, and not generally necessarily, to quote a phrase, know what works, but from what we do, we should know something about our profession.
Oh, for sure.
So
for sure.
We try to be helpful where we can, and sometimes words cannot express at a time like
Loss.
that what needs to be done. So we just try to be patient and listen and help folks get through it. And occasionally there have been times when families and individuals try to sit down and plan this out, and it's just a bit overwhelming, and they have to come back the next day in terms of raw emotion, because they want to come to grips with this, but then we you know, we don't demand that everybody sits down and we go through all this right now if they care to, and as much as a person wants to deal with at that time, we can, and if they have to come back another day, then that's fine too. We don't try to just race through what we need to do. But a lot of that schedule is set by the family's own determination and other family members about setting a schedule. And it's a challenge within a few days to pull a lot of things together, especially if it's sudden and unexpected, and nobody plans to die.
No.
But our job and our responsibility is to manage what we're expected to do at the request of the family as best we can from our knowledge and experience. And generally that's how a lot of people arrive at a decision to, well, who do I call when somebody dies?
Yeah, what do I do?
And word of mouth in our industry was the original internet, because things beat people to the door and to our door, and word of mouth quicker, and the grapevine and everything. So it's still about information, and the information about us doesn't necessarily have to be advertised from families who we served before, you know, in any funeral home.
They feel confident, they feel trustworthy and respected that you've handled their family, their loved ones beforehand. So,
and in order to meet someone's expectations, it's a difficult challenge. Like I said, you know, there are no do-overs at a funeral.
So,
and it's a challenge because sometimes, no matter what we do, it may be in the minds of a few that we may fall short but the emotion of the time and all of the things that happen, we understand that as well. So we
Well, you
can
have
just
to.
try to treat everybody with the utmost respect as we do in every case, and I would say an overwhelming majority of the time we meet the need that's expected in a dignified, effective manner, and I'm not going to misrepresent. Sometimes there are expectations we just cannot satisfy because death is not a satisfying experience.
Terrible.
And so,
We we have some pictures now. If you can, pardon me, if you'll take a look at what we have here, and if you can explain who these two gentlemen are.
yes, those are the original founders, Bradshaw-Range, my great uncle on the left, Pearl M. Bradshaw, and Ulysses G. Range. They are not related. They met in mortuary science school in Chicago in 1926, I believe, and they were a couple of like-minded individuals that they discovered, and they decided they wanted to pursue a business in funeral service after they got out of mortuary science school. So they opened up a place on South State Street in Chicago in 1928.
Is that
Yes,
is
that's the building.
that
and-
location? Look at
Yep,
that.
and they even had some type of stone set in the top of the building there, and that was one of the first locations. And then it was a rented facility. I'm sure it was not built as a funeral home from the ground up. And then they later had another place, from a photograph I don't have, on South Indiana Street. This photograph here is from 1962, when the firm decided that they would build their own facility in Waukegan and move from a rented place in Waukegan on Sheridan Road. And they got that built fairly quickly, and that's the location. I was nowhere around at that time.
I was just
but,
going to say, I don't
no,
see
I
it
was
there.
about maybe 10 years old. This facility was a place that was constructed in Zion, Illinois. It was a funeral home built brand new. It opened in 1978 and built from the ground up. However, we had it for 20 years, but the location didn't succeed well as a funeral home, so they recently sold it to a church about some 20 years ago. But they tried. It was my grandfather's crowning achievement. He was still alive at the time. And this is the present facility that was built right after the groundbreaking. It was completed a year later. Where we currently are in Waukegan, the building still looks exactly like that today, although the landscaping has been changed, of course, and blacktop and so forth. But
Was that was that gravel?
yeah, it's a gravel driveway.
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't
that's
notice
a
that.
gravel parking lot before, because they were on a shoestring budget, so they were lucky to get a loan to get it going and to get it done. And
Is there anyone that's still left from the original, you know, group that put the the architecture together? Is there anyone still left? An uncle or the aunt or anyone who designed any of this?
Yes, I have a cousin, Scipio Mudd. He's still the president of the organization, although he's retired now. And he's the second generation, and I'm actually a third generation. And he was in that groundbreaking photograph there, and he's the last one of that generation at this time.
He had designs. He knew what he wanted. He knew, you know, the layout. I mean, I don't know if you go into an architect's office and
Oh,
say,
well, yeah, at the
you know,
time,
this
Mr.
is what
yeah,
I want,
yeah,
this
at
is
the
what I
time,
need?
Mr. Range, he contacted a local architect, and they laid it out and designed a very simple plan. It wasn't a big, highfalutin, fancy funeral home. It was just basically something with a chapel, an office, some restrooms, an operating room, and a reception lounge and a parking lot.
Okay.
And my grandfather was a no-frills kind of man, and never took vacations, and nose to the grindstone, and how dare you watch TV at the job?
See, don't do that. Business, I mean, being a funeral director is like any other job, except you're more in place with families than it would be if you were in any other kind of business. I mean, a physician or an attorney or a dentist, or because they need you more. The families need you more than someone that they might go because they have a toothache, or if they're not feeling well, they have a headache, or because they rely on you, Richard. They absolutely rely with full faith and feeling of continuity that you will do for them what they need, because they loved their beloved so much
Yes,
that their trust in you is just untouchable, absolutely
yeah,
untouchable.
yes, to meet that expectation is a challenge, and,
Oh.
and it was very humbling for me to go to mortuary science school and become involved with this family business, because I realized instantly that all of this respect that was being afforded me had nothing to do with me as Richard. It was about the business that had been established prior to that, and how important that responsibility and that trust was. I felt that from immediately from day one, and I'm like, Lord, can I give me the strength not to mess this up? And I really wondered when I went to mortuary science school, how do I know that I have what it takes to make this go?
Wow.
I mean, my dad packed the family up to move from California here so he could work in the business and such, and they encouraged him, well, why don't you think about, coming along, because we want to continue it. We want to, keep it going. But however it goes, the truth of the matter was it wasn't for my dad. He was here for a while, and he discovered that it wasn't the kind of occupation for him. Although we might think things in our mind that,
sure.
oh yeah, family business, I know
can do
everybody
it,
who works there, I can do this, I guess I can do this. But at some point, that's a very heavy personal decision, regardless of any occupation you want to be in.
Sure.
And I think with what we do as funeral directors in a funeral home, a lot of it has to do with a person's personal constitution. Because of the nature of the business, people see us somehow differently than other professions and occupations. We're no different than a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, a corner grocer. It's still an occupation. It's still about service to the public. The nature of the job is very different. I mean, being here on the planet versus not being here on the planet is quite different than anything else that people have to deal with in life. We get that. But that doesn't necessarily make us who serve that profession spooky people or different people or weird people or odd people.
I know, but families hold you closer, because when they go to visit their loved one in the cemetery, people will always bring up family who, if you've had this,
how it was,
how you were able to handle this. I mean,
it
was it too emotional, or was it how did they provide services for you? Were they demanding? Were they, and with compassion and love, they speak highly, because the fact of maybe a kindness was shown. If it was raining, there was someone to hold an umbrella. Someone was thoughtful enough to bring an umbrella. It's a very simple measure, but something you never forget, whether it's cold or hot or wet or dry. You always remember that kindness someone bestowed upon you at a time when you were so devastated with the loss of a family member that they were kind enough to think of you and provide that kindness to hold an umbrella so you're not wet, you're not rained on. So
Yes, it's very important. As they say, sometimes it's the small things in life, and you have to sort of think about everything and cover everything that you can. And every family that you serve don't need the same kinds of things, but you have to be able to have a broad range of ideas and services and things that people are going to need so that you're prepared to meet that need, oftentimes at a moment's notice without much warning to us. And so it is a challenge all of itself.
see, I mean, if you had this to do over again, I mean, is this the profession you would like to have gone into? Or, I mean, are you okay with this? I mean,
Well, yes, I mean, when I was in junior high school here in Illinois, they would tease me, and are you going to follow in your father's footsteps? And I'm like, how do they know what I do?
see,
But what I didn't consider is that perhaps their family went to a funeral at the funeral home, and they were Bradshaw-Range, and they made the name association.
Sure.
Because I didn't go around telling anybody what my family did, that they owned a funeral home. And so I said, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. And not for any particular reason other than I didn't know. I was just a kid. How am I supposed to know? And when that place was built, the Waukegan place with the gravel parkway, I was like 12, 13, so I was there cutting the grass in the summers and mopping up the linoleum floors. And I think they were looking at me as a younger guy. I said, oh, do you think you might want to do this? They were just curious, and I'm like, I think my response was no.
Oh, that was simple. That was very
I'm just
simple.
being honest.
Okay.
I didn't know,
Okay.
but I'm like, I don't know. I'm just a kid. I'm trying to get through junior high school or school. I didn't know, and I knew at an early age that when we were in California, my father had an association with a funeral home there, and we went there, and I saw people in repose in caskets and such, and it didn't bother me. I had no natural aversion to such, and I wasn't afraid of anything. I wasn't a spooky kind of child.
They're
but
human beings.
I just thought that, well, I don't know. I mean, I was just being honest, and so I must say I didn't set this path for myself, nor did I actually ever think I would be a funeral director like they were, and God makes it possible for all of us to do something, so it's quite interesting, and I would do it again, but probably not from a conscious choice, but I wouldn't trade the experiences that I've had trying to manage someone else's dream and someone else's business started in 1928 for anything in the world, because I've learned a lot about myself. I wondered back a long time ago, how do I know I could deal with this and make it work? And there are a lot of challenges one must face in a family business, any family business.
Oh, this is for sure.
And there are challenges that I have faced and challenges yet to be faced and managed, I'm sure, in my future.
Oh, absolutely. It's just a query that if you had opportunity, you could have been a physician, you could have been, if you wanted medicine, you could have further gone into that.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes, and hindsight's always 20/20. And I'm like, man, I might have been able to do some other things, but
Scientist, you could have been a scientist, a researcher, any of that.
But I'm glad that the most incredible thing to me is that I was able to participate in someone else's dream and a business someone else started, and that they had a genuine desire to try to keep it going in a family. And that's one of the most humbling things that I've ever attempted to do and been asked to do. And I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to serve as I have thus far.
It is a service. What you do is a service. You provide a service that is, I don't know exactly how to say that, but it's you provide a service that no one else, no other person can handle other than you yourself, the Bradshaw-Range Funeral Home, because that service is most unique. Like you said, there's no second chance. You have to do it right the first time around.
Yeah, and I didn't quite understand when I first started working there how everything added up, because I was new. I didn't know I
Sure.
had done this, and they only tell you so much when you're involved, especially in the family business. A lot of things it's...
Let the kid find out on his own.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
the kid
and let him see if it's really something
See,
that's
wants
going
go. Yeah.
to be for them. But it's just something that you sort of know, and I can say that if it was something that I was sort of somewhat uncertain about, I probably would have ran the other way as fast as I could after having been exposed to a lot of things.
But
you
you're
know,
in this so many years.
Yes,
you know.
yeah, I can't run anywhere now.
You can't run. Oh, no.
I'm there.
So that's it. Well, someone's
Yeah.
going to grab your shoelaces, and for
Right,
sure you're not going to
right,
go nowhere. So,
right,
see?
absolutely.
Yeah, this is, it's, but I'm, like I say, it's not unusual, because everybody's profession is unusual.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
with yours, it's a life
Yeah,
experience.
it's very humbling to be
Oh,
involved
sure.
with many families and the care of the person who passed away. And like I said, everybody's life is important, and everyone's
Sure.
life matters who has lived, regardless of what we think about
Absolutely.
people. You know, sometimes they sensationalize famous people and they show their
yes.
funeral on TV and
Oh, yes,
all
yes,
these
yes.
kinds of things, but our lives, who never make it that far in broadcast, are just as important, just as endearing,
See.
just as tender as everybody else who's portrayed, perhaps, you know, larger than life, so to speak. So it's
Well, it's a unique profession because you are with the families. You're always with the families. You're in their hearts. You're with them because you give so much of yourself, and they appreciate that and they see that. And when they come to your establishment, they can appreciate what you do for them. And if you've calmed them, if you've given them words of solace, if you've, however you've been to them, with them, this is a remembrance. They take that with them. They may be leaving their loved one, but they take that feeling with them that you cared enough to spend the time to talk with them, to be with them, to relieve them of whatever responsibilities they felt they had. You were going to take it from that point forward.
yes, and like I said, it's a challenge, and I would say that everyone who participates and works at Bradshaw-Range Funeral Home all try very hard to meet everyone's expectations, and it's you always have to be ready.
Well,
you always have to be prepared, and it's not a time for us to have a bad day.
no,
Because you know
you are dealing with others.
It's not, yeah, it's not about us.
Yeah.
It's not about us. It's about the people and families we serve.
what is I mean, this is winter time, so we want everyone to live long and prosper. In Star Trek, that's what they say. But people are out there shoveling snow, and this is winter time. In the summertime, they're out cutting the lawn, and it could be too hot for them. And I mean, what words of wisdom, pearls that you can, leave with our viewers that are watching, how to protect their life. They have to protect their life. I mean, we hope to all be over 100.
Yes, yeah, the expectation of life in America is something that is ingrained in us through advertising and the Pepsi generation when I was a little
Remember
younger. Yes. I would say that life is about how you treat others and people, and you just have to take care of yourself and care about those and be loving and treat others as you wish to be treated.
Well, it's the golden rule.
Yes, yes.
It's the golden rule.
Yes, and with all the stresses in life that we have to deal with today and the challenges economically, sometimes we just fall by the wayside with all that we need to do to keep ourselves mentally and emotionally healthy,
Yes.
as well as physically healthy. And but it's a choice, I guess. And sometimes we just get overwhelmed with living, and then things just happen.
Well, that's life, so to speak. That's what people say. But if you want to keep someone healthy and so that they don't become overwhelmed, certainly if it's snowing out, and we've had plenty of snow, Lord knows that's very much available out the door. But people have to know if they are physically capable of shoveling. If they are not, then the kids who cut the lawn in the summer, or a nephew or a neighbor or grandson, if they could shovel for you, at least a path to get out, or call a service to protect life, to keep yourself alive and well. That's number one. Mother Nature is going to be there.
Yes.
She's always going to be
Yes.
there, and Father Time, he's right
Yes.
there on the minute.
Yeah, but so often we want to discount those kinds of things when some of us are hard-headed.
Well, but and then summertime, it's too hot. You shouldn't go out there and cut the lawn.
Right,
And
right.
the guy says, well, I'm only going to do
Right.
a little bit,
Right.
and then the humidity is too much, and he has a heat stroke or something.
Right,
And
right.
that's the
Right.
worst of it. So
Yes.
to cut the lawn, it wasn't really worth it. To preserve themselves is the
Right.
best way to do this.
Right.
So people have to know to stay well, otherwise the family members will have to come visit you. And we should give a phone number, Richard. We're sitting here talking, maybe, someone's watching, they would like to connect. This does play all over, and you're
Yes.
going to be on YouTube. So
Yes.
I need to say to my
Well, we have a website,
Okay.
www.bradshaw-range.com,
okay.
and all of our contact information is there, and our phone number is 847-662-3553.
Good. And as you can see on the lower portion of the screen is my YouTube. So please do come visit us on YouTube. This is such a wonderful gentleman. It's a pleasure. We waited so long to have him, and I'm so happy that we did to come. And here, www.Bradshaw- we've got it, range.com,
yes.
and then they can get the information on the internet, and a bit modern than than your relatives before you.
Yeah, oh,
who was
yes,
a word of
it's-
mouth
yeah,
or by
yeah.
the telephone
Well,
or
it's still word of
knock
mouth.
on the
In
door
the local
or
community, trust me, it's still
see,
word of mouth.
Yeah, well, hell, go to the church and find out who's the pastor, who's going to be handling it or
Right.
whatever.
Yes.
If you have any questions, let me just talk to my viewers. If you have any questions about this particular funeral home, if you are interested, if you are available in the area or you are in need of Richard's services, please contact him. Very knowledgeable, very compassionate, very understanding, and he will help you with whatever you need. And I'm sure that he has myriad of books for you to look through and see what type of instruments you might need for that final resting place. And you're in charge or in contact with the cemeteries?
Yes, we have references.
Okay,
and
so that's not a problem. So that would be something that would be most important to find out. And please contact us on YouTube or look at us on YouTube, and you'll see, not only Richard's beautiful. This has been a wonderful, calm evening. Very nice. Even though we're freezing down here, the public doesn't know that, but it's so cold down here. But you can talk things out with Richard and see what he has to say. I don't imagine that this is an everyday occurrence. Is that you would, be handling people who already have a pre-need or made. I don't know what the wording is.
Yeah, a pre-need. Yeah, a lot of times.
So if it is, then you don't have to go through that.
Well, people pre-plan, and it
Pre-plan.
takes care of the economic aspects and the other desirable things that one might want to have occur. And there's still a secondary process to actually fulfill that request.
Oh,
So,
okay, all right. So and I'm sure you must, even if they need further information that they cannot derive from online. If they call you, I mean, do you have a brochure or something?
oh yes, we have an online, on our website, we have an online planner
Okay.
as well that people can select and
Okay.
make some choices of some items.
I mean, because maybe they don't really want to talk to anybody yet.
Correct,
They
right.
want to just do it themselves.
Right, yes, we have some availability for that as well
Okay,
on our
so
website.
they can check off or mark whatever little box they want to
Yes.
do, or
Yes.
that's good. That's
Yes.
very good.
Yes.
Well, this hour is almost past. I cannot believe we only have like 3 minutes to go. Is there something you'd like to leave our audience with that you don't think that we've touched base on, or they should know really at this point?
Well, I just want to thank you for the opportunity
Well, thank you.
to be here. And as I indicated earlier, it's a very humbling experience for me to be involved in someone else's dream and to participate with that and to see it continue. And it's just been a different kind of experience that I've had to deal with in my adult life. But I really appreciate being able to do what's expected at such a difficult time in families' lives. And I'll just be forever grateful to the families we serve for their trust and support
Trust,
and their
yeah.
confidence.
That's wonderful. That's very well said, because the families need you. They need you more than other family members, because you are the one that will be able to help the wound, the broken heart, be satisfied, because they trust you and they know that you'll take care of them Very important.
Yes.
Family members may come and go. I mean, they'll leave, whatever. You're there to be able to help and support them. That's very, very important, very important. Well, now we only have 2 minutes left, but I really need to tell our viewers that, that we need you to take a look at our YouTube, and you're going to find Richard on there, and you're going to find other other stories that we've had on there, and you're going to find that the Kaluzinski story on there that we did a year ago, and then some, and then the most dangerous blogger in Illinois. Did you know that we're famous for that?
No.
Yeah, we had her.
I missed that one.
Yeah, we had her on the program. Joanne Dennison, attorney at law, the most dangerous blogger in the state of Illinois. That's what she's called. So we did a 3-part series with her. Richard, you are more than welcome to come back. We could do a 3-part series. You can bring down whatever you like. You could bring Gerald down. Anyone that you like. You've been a wonderful guest. Very informative, very understanding, and you need to be that way.
Yes,
And
thank
you
you.
really
I did try to reach out to some other staff members to come down, and so I wasn't exactly sure what the setup was. I thought it might have been as presented this evening, but I just wanted to be inclusive of other ideas and other people who participate in our success to be present. So perhaps at another time.
Well, we're going to take you up on that. It's like pulling teeth with you
No,
guys.
it'll be a little easier.
Okay, now that you've already made your
Yes.
footstep in here, very
Yes.
good. Well, we want to thank you for coming this evening. We appreciate that greatly.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
And we want to thank you, our audience, for allowing us in your home or your place of business. Have a pleasant evening, a very safe week. Please remember to set your clocks ahead, spring ahead on Sunday, and we're going to get an hour of more sunshine and less snow. I'm just throwing that in, but more sunshine, I would hope. And so have a pleasant evening, a very safe week. See you next week on North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. Please watch us on YouTube.